Hi everyone, welcome back to another Mindful Monday. Last Monday we did something a little bit different and I painted a picture of two scenarios that you might find yourselves in. If you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, I recommend that you go back and find it. It was called Happily Ever After. Still deciding on the title of this one, but I suppose it is connected to that one and I'm going to build just a little bit for you on top of it. I was thinking that one of the things that we talked about towards the end in terms of living happily ever after, having a happy marriage, really boils down to one thing, and those of you who watched the video will know exactly what I'm talking about. So, what is it that gets us wrapped up and keeps us from seeing what is really in our way, what hinders us? Why do we revolve our lives around our children or around our spouse, and then get unhappy after doing so? I mean, isn't it what makes us happy in the first place? Isn't that our family? Isn't that our values, family? Isn't that a life goal maybe? So why is it that we get so down? And so you are a multifaceted person, as I had mentioned, touched briefly on. You have so many facets. As a husband, you are a brother and a son. You're also father, and you're a co-worker. You might be boss to some. There are just, so many so many different hats that we wear. And as a wife, you are a partner and lover and mother and a sister, daughter, right? Leader in your field, a boss, maybe an entrepreneur, maybe working in corporate, whatever it may be. You have so many hats. And so when we come home, we may be expert in our field. You can be a great parent and be a terrible spouse. It is totally possible. You can be a wonderful spouse and not be such a great parent. But here's the great news. With every role that you find yourself in, it is possible to be better. It is possible to be the best that you can be. So, coming back to what we were talking about, if your marriage is not one that looks like the happily ever after picture that you had imagined, guess what? You can actually work on it to make it closer, at least closer to what you imagined. Some of it we're going to have to look at and look at, are my expectations realistic? Where did I even get this idea from? Um, how did this develop inside of me? And let's turn it the opposite way. Am I fulfilling the role in my fairy tale or happily ever after life? Am I bringing to the table in my relationship everything that I'm supposed to bring? And so the amazing thing about it is that once we choose to be happy, once we choose to work on ourselves, because we cannot make another person change. What we can do, however, is change how we respond to things. We can change our mindset. We can choose a different outlook. And then in turn, as I had mentioned briefly in the other video, others are now forced with a decision to make because they're doing life dance with us, and now they're left with a decision. Okay, so do I follow suit and continue with the dance, or do I stop here and vocalize certain things and say I don't want to dance? So things become a lot more apparent, and we get to have some of the difficult discussions that we need to have, perhaps that perhaps maybe we're even avoiding, right? But we will never have true intimacy, and we can never have closeness if we have these grievances, bitterness in our hearts. We're criticizing certain things because we're just not happy within ourselves. So there comes a place where we have to take that bold step and choose to be courageous and say, you know what, I'm not happy. Let me think about whether my expectations are realistic. And then let me think about, is there anything I can do to make our relationship better, to make my life better, to make myself happier? One of the biggest things that happens when you get married, if you have this fairy tale idea that we're just going to live happily ever after and do everything together and everything is going to be great, but you have not taken the time to get to know who you are as a person, One of the biggest things that can happen is that you're envisioning doing everything together, and you're going to find out sooner or later how different you are, or maybe in some cases how similar you are, and how you drive each other nuts. This is why it's really important to recognize your strengths and recognize your weaknesses and learn what works well together and when you need a break. It's totally fine to have a ladies' night out, or for the guys to go out. Let them maintain their relationships on both sides, right? So that we trust our spouses to make the right decisions, obviously, and we can have conversations about the activities and things like that. But the point is that there needs to be that time to fulfill every facet of our life. So it might be that we need time with our parents. As a daughter or a son, we might need time with our siblings. We may need time with our friends. And once we do all of these different things, and we're able to properly regulate it, we're able to enjoy our spouse more, because we're not spending time with them all the time, right? So that's just a small little tidbit. If you're not sure how to balance it all out, feel free to send me a message. I'd love to chat with you. If you're having a hard time communicating with your spouse what it is that you do need, feel free to message me. If my last video angered you and made you drew up this cynical response, that is an indicator that you need some help. Okay, so I know that it did fire up some people. And I feel sad, because there is hope for you. There really is hope. It's in your hands. If it got you to a place thinking that I'm hopeful, there can be change, and let me see what I can do about it, that's awesome, because now you're no longer a victim and you're taking it into your own hands, and you can have a great marriage. And again, if you find that you need a little bit of help and you can identify the areas, or you need help identifying the areas, feel free to reach out to me and book a session. Talk to you later, and have a great week, everyone.